The C shape. The A shape.
And all of these dots will connect for you. We've got video number 2 today in the How to Get Better at Guitar series. So if you watched the first video, you know how to find all the notes on the guitar. All the octaves, jump around. Good for you, congratulations. It's not a small effort. Today we are going to learn the CAGED system, at least the shapes used in CAGED. It's fun. It's a fun, cute little mnemonic device. I don't want you always thinking about the CAGED thing, but it is a helpful way to frame it and think about it. But I want you to feel it and visualize it as opposed to naming it. But the names do help. So let's get started and learn what CAGED is. And what that means is we are going to be putting those octaves that we found and learning how to create major and minor chords within that octave shape or within those CAGED shapes. Let's demystify it. CAGED. Because we're all dummies, let's do it in order. C-A-G-E-D.
The C shape.
So we start with a C chord, but before we go to the chord, let's find our octave. Here's a C, first fret, second string, and here it is, third fret on the fifth string. That's an octave. We can visualize it, look at it, label it however you want, just know what it feels like. But another way to think about this is we can call this the C shape. Here it happens to be a C chord, but we'll talk about it as a shape in a moment. So we all know how to play that C chord. How do we play that chord higher on the neck without a capo? You can't just move it up, because now, that's not a major chord anymore. The two open strings, the G and the E string, did not move up with us. This may be new to you. If you know how to do this shape already, jump ahead, timestamps below. But I'm gonna explain this. So we had a C chord here. How would we build that same chord on C sharp? So what you have to do is where your ring finger is on the fifth string, we're gonna put our pinky there. And then our ring finger is right underneath it. So we have 4th fret, 3rd fret, right? Just like we had 3, 2. Now we're adding 1 to everything. So 3 plus 1 is 4, 2 plus 1 is 3. Now it was open, but we have to add 1 to it. So now we need the 1st fret. That's already a C major chord. And then it was the 1st fret on the B string. So we're gonna add 1, that's the 2nd fret. And then our first finger is gonna bar the 1st string again on the 1st fret. So we have 4th fret on the A string, then the 3rd, then the 1st, then the 2nd, and then the 1st. And we call that the C shape because it's the same. I know it doesn't look the same, but it comes from this. And we're just treating this first finger as if it were our capo. And you can do this everywhere. Now you've made the C shape movable. Again, remember, if I had a capo here, that's just a C chord that I'm playing, right? So we just moved it up, and we call that the C shape. And you can play that C shape as any major chord. Here it's C, here it's C sharp, here it's D, D sharp, E. And again, always remember your octaves when you're doing this. So let's say I'm here on F, and I want to play an F major between these two Fs. Well, now I know how to do it. I use the C shape. So we can call that octave position the C position if you wanted to. Again, I'm not using a name as a label. For me, I visualize it and I know how to do it. Before we move on from the shape, because I know this can be really uncomfortable for a lot of players, as we go on with this video series, you're gonna learn you don't always have to do everything. Sometimes you're gonna simplify it. Play only the high ones, only the middle 3, only the lowest 3. Eventually you'll get to the point where you can learn how to play by thirds. But it all stems from these shapes and these octaves as the blueprint to finding it. So very common for me when I'm playing this shape is I don't bother barring my first finger. So I'll just play these middle 4 strings and I won't bother barring that top one. And that for me is easy. Sometimes I'll even move my pinky. Right, if I'm not always using the capo in a song, I can still use the shape, and I'm pretty comfortable with it. And then later on we'll talk about sometimes you're not doing the lowest note, and you're just playing the chord that way with the top 4. Still a C shape. We're gonna learn it looking big so all the notes are in your head, and we'll talk about simplifying it later. So that is your C shape. You know how to move it around, you know how to find every chord on the guitar now in that C shape. Anytime there's a root on the A string or the B string, right, whether it's C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, you simply put that chord there. How to practice is find some songs where maybe you're playing this G chord, but now I want you to find that G chord in the C shape. So I'm gonna find my octaves. Oh, there's my note on the A string and my note on the B string. Right, that's my octave that's in the C shape. So I'm doing it with my pinky on the 10th fret. I rambled there for a bit on the C shape, but we'll go a little more quickly through the rest because the same concepts are going to apply. So CAGED, C, A, we're on A. Here's A major.
The A shape.
How do we make that movable? This shape is a lot more common because we call it an A string bar chord. If I were to move this up, I'd have 3, 3, 3, but now my open becomes a 1. I'm gonna move it up to the 5th fret because it's easier to reach here. A lot of people don't play it like this, right? You're gonna use either your ring finger to bar those or your pinky. And like I said before, we're very seldom playing all of them. That's quite hard to do. That's why guys do this, so that when you get back to the top string, it's that one again. I do it this way. Sometimes it's even hard for me to get that top one. Most of the time I use my pinky. And I know that's hard for people to get that pinky to bend so that their first string isn't the 7th fret, but it's lifted a bit. So I'm actually sounding the 5th fret. So again, we have open, 2, 2, 2, open. It just becomes 1, 3, 3, 3, 1, 2, 4, 4, 4, 2. And so we have A sharp, B, C. Right, we're playing all the different chords in the A shape. Let's do it up on D, the 5th fret. I play it like this. Some guys use all 3 fingers here. Doesn't matter. Often you're just gonna hear it like this. Just those middle 3. It's still the 3 chord tones that are needed. Or we could do the top 3 notes and it would look like that. Again, in a later video, we'll get through all that. But here, just know most people are just playing the middle 4. One more thing to note, you could play the lowest string as well. You could bar it, so it'd be 5, 5, 7, 7, 7. You can hop between those, the 5th string and the 6th string, which would be the same as this. I did Travis pick on an A chord. You can now Travis pick on any chord you want in the A shape. Here's E on the 7th fret. A shape, you get the idea. Let's keep going. Sorry, one thing I missed on that A shape is finding the octaves. So anytime you have the A string, hence it's called the A shape, that one's easy to memorize, or the G string, right here I'm going from C to C. Anytime it's that particular octave shape, well, you know how to put your major chord down on it now. So if I said we'll use the example of a G chord. Let's go up until we find our A shape. That's not it. That's not it. Oh, here, we found the A shape. So now I can go from that 10th fret, G, and build the chord between these two, 10 and 12. And there's the A shape G chord. We'll talk through the rest, and I promise at the end I'll give you all sorts of practical ways to practice this stuff and get it under your belt and more fluid and fluent.
Doodle-doo, donation pitch. Pink headphone donation pitch when you're too lazy to find your own headphones and you steal your daughter's. Hey guys, I am excited to be bringing you the How to Get Better at Guitar series. And just a quick little pitch. Many of you already know this, but if you don't, please consider a contribution to Mike's music method. My promise to you all is to always keep everything free. No paywall for anybody, anywhere, so anyone out there without the means can stumble upon these videos, and they might not be able to afford lessons, but they can dive in and get all this content. And as much as I love teaching private music lessons and making that human connection, these videos go a lot further to a lot more people. So if you guys can buy me some time to step away from my other work, then I have more time to make these videos and keep cranking these out and have a bigger and broader reach with my knowledge and skill set. So please consider, it can be, one-time donation, or the monthly donations are super helpful, because then I know what I'm looking for, what I'm looking at that month in terms of, hey, look at this, more people are chipping in, I can now donate X amount of more hours to cranking these out, maybe drop some private lessons. You know what I'm saying? So please consider a contribution. It's charitable. You're buying me time to give free, absolutely free, I promise, content to anyone out there who has access to a computer. So you know what I'm saying? Let's keep going. Caged.
Oh,
The G shape.
the G shape.
Let's do it. So here, if we have a G open chord and we had to move it all up, all of those opens have to be a 1. This is ridiculous. I never play it like this, doing all the strings. I could, but it's just so obnoxious, and I really have to have my guitar neck up very high. I suppose it's movable. I don't know anyone who does the shape like that. But we simplify it. So let's do this. We'll take our G shape, but let's build it on the 5th fret instead of the 3rd. So 5, 4, 2, 2, 2. So I've just added 2 to the G chord, everything plus 2. 5, 4, 2, 2, 2. That's one way to just do the lower end of it. Often what I will do is get rid of these 2, because it would be 5, 4, 2, 2, 2, 5. Often I love playing this chord just doing the high ones, so 2, 2, 2, 5, right? I'm just playing the top 4 strings. It's nice, it's got a nice ringing sound. Another way, I call it the Hendrix chord, because he does this all the time. He doesn't play the highest note or the lowest note, but he does the inside ones. So it's just 4, 2, 2, 2. And you'll sometimes see that in songs where you're playing a G chord, but you're really only playing these 4 inside ones. So it's a G chord with the B and the bass. We'll talk about inversions in another video. But that's how this one's easily done. I'll keep in mind that my root is the pinky, but I'll often just play the notes in the middle. And that is our G chord. So play the notes in the middle, play them up high, play them low, but never try to get all of them like a full actual G chord. That's just too uncomfortable. You're not gonna be able to get to it quick. Plus it's, in my opinion, it's kind of, I don't know, a little bit muddy sounding. So that is your G shape. Let's find it on the guitar somewhere. And it's always on the lowest string, starting with your pinky. So let's do this. Let's find it on B. So the B, you have to use your memorizing technique. Oh, here it is. Where's my octave? From the 7th fret to the 4th fret on the G string, and then that one again. So anytime you see that octave position, which in the previous video was like position 5, but again, I just want you to go by feel and look. Anytime you're in that position, you now know that you can drop down that G shape to build a chord or up high. All sorts of ways to play it, or like Hendrix. All right, you got the G shape. Let's keep going. Caged, C-A-G-E.
The E shape.
We're on E. This one is fairly common. Think of your E open chord. Now play it with different fingers to free up your first finger, and pretend your first finger is the capo. So that is your E shape. You guys probably all know this. It's just your typical go-to bar chord. And you just move it up the neck. So not too much to explain there. The way I think about it is, let's say I'm doing it on G. So again, anytime I'm doing this octave position, 6th string, 4th string, 1st string, my mind just visualizes, boom, that's boom. So your mind will eventually do that. You'll be in that octave position and boom, you'll know. You drop down the chord like that. It's your E shape. Not too much to add, right? You've probably already memorized this through your playing power chords or just strumming bar chords in whatever song. It's an easy one. Let's go to the last one. CAGED, C-A-G-E-D.
The D shape.
I almost put, I know there's, how many is that? C-A-G-E-D, it's 5, right? There's 5 octave positions. I kind of only think of CAGED as 4, and I'll show you what I mean in a second. The D is so weird and ridiculous, and it's kind of tied into the other ones. Eventually you realize how they are all connected. So yes, to think of them as separate things is helpful in understanding the blueprint. It's kind of like, this might be a terrible example, but my wife's an architect. And I'm sure, you know, you're looking at a blueprint design and you can look at the individual rooms and study them all you want as their own entity, but it is connected to a house. So yeah, sometimes you're only in one room, but often you're walking from one room into the hallway. So I don't want you to be too compartmentalized about thinking about these like, oh, I'm always in one position. Playing songs is way more fluid than that. So that's what I mean by, I don't really think of the D shape as a shape. To me, it is the C shape, but let's do it. So here's the D chord. Open, 2, 3, 2. Now, if we want to move that up, it's weird. We need to play the D chord like this, where it's a ring, I'm going from the ground up, ring, pinky, middle, and then our first finger needs to be free, because if I'm going to slide that up, I need now the D string to have the first fret down, right? Open to the first fret. I'm going to keep moving until I get to 5. And now if you know your octaves, that 5th fret goes to here. So now we're doing it as a G. That's right, you knew it, a G chord. We're doing G major. This is very awkward. Another thing you could do if you really wanted to, you could bar the 2 5, so you got 5 on the D and the A string. And sure, I can play it this way, but I almost never do. It's fairly uncomfortable. My wrist is really bent. I don't like doing it. So for me, this is a D shape, but I'm almost never playing that first finger. I just play it really simple, like a D chord. That's way easier. Now, it's not full, but if I want to make that chord bigger, well, guess what? That D shape here, CAGED, C-A-G-E-D, and then the next one up the neck is C again. So we'll talk about how they connect in a second. But when I think of that D chord, instead of going back to this octave and playing that awkward shape, from this D chord, I'm building this way up the neck. And guess what? Now it turns into the C shape. They're all connected. And for me, this one's so much easier to play. My wrist is straight. I don't feel like I have to do a crazy stretch and bend and move my hand all weird to get to it. So I always default to a different shape. Now, it's not like I'm missing out on anything. The notes aren't different. It's a different voicing. But to me, the difference is so subtle that it doesn't come up that often where I feel a need to play it that way. It only fits the song if I do that shape. So if you find it complicated to play, so do I, and I never do it, so don't worry about it. But again, it's important to know because we want to know how these chords all fit together and how the octaves all fit together. And so let me finish on that one. So let's find an example. If we do, well, we just did G, so let's do A. You gotta find me some kind of A on the guitar neck. Well, here's one, here's another one, here's another one. Oh, here we go, now I'm on the D string. So anytime I'm in between the D and the G string in this octave shape or position or number or however you're putting that in your mind, just know from there, that's where you do that weird thing. And those fit through to give you the chord. So 7th fret on the D string, 10th fret on the B string, and then I'm inserting 9 and 9 on the G and the B string to get our D shape. CAGED, you did all of it. As for the application, let me guys give you some practical ways to memorize this and practical ways to start putting them into action. There's a lot of ways to do it. It's a lot of fun. One way is find a simple song, 3 or 4 chord song, and play the chords how you normally would. Maybe you're finger picking them as open chords, just G to C. And you can record yourself playing that. Now, if you want to become a better, I don't think my volume was on, but you get the idea, G to C. Now, any competent guitarist is going to want to make that more colorful. So if your buddy's not that good at guitar and he's just playing G and C, you can now add something onto that. So instead of doing the G chord here, use your CAGED system to build a G chord somewhere else, higher on the neck with a different voicing, So it sounds more interesting than both of you guys just strumming G to C together. So one way would be to go through it. Here's G. What shape is that? It's the G shape. But let's spend the time showing how this connects. Again, at first you're going to want to maybe think of the CAGED as a mnemonic device. So we're going to find all the G chords in all the different CAGED shapes. Here's a G chord using a G shape. So G and G. Then what's after the G shape? Well, CAGED, C-A-G-E. So now the next one, if you haven't visualized it yet, you put your first finger there and you play a G chord as an E shape. Right? G shape, E shape. We're still playing a G major chord though. Now after this, CAGED, C-A-G-E-D. So the D shape's next. And again, always think of your octaves. Oh, it's up here. Oh, and that's where I put these two fingers down into that awkward D shape. We're still playing a G chord. G, G, G. We're just playing it higher up the neck. Now from that D shape, what's next? C-A-G-E-D, back to C, where we started. So, again, I'm thinking octaves. Eventually you just want to think octaves and visualize it as opposed to using the mnemonic system will slow you up in the long run. So where my pinky is, I know that's a G. So from there I go to up to the 10th fret. I got 8 and 10 there. And there, I know right away from visualizing it, oh, that's my C shape. And here I do have to move, right? Because I know my pinky has to be there to build that C chord. And when you build scales and chords off that octave position, yeah, you might have to tweak the position. Don't think you're always wed to playing it with these two fingers. And depending on the context, you're going to use different fingers for all sorts of things. So now we're using the C shape to play a G chord. Let's go through them again. There's our G shape, our E, our D, our C. Again, you see that these three notes up here are shared for both of those shapes. They overlap. There's always a connecting element, like walking through the plans of a house. In order to get from one room to another, you go through the hallways and the doors and... Stupid metaphor. Okay. CAGED, so that was C, and now we go to the A shape. Or if you're not going to think about the mnemonic device, and I'm urging you not to, just find, okay, I know my pinky is that 10th fret. I know that's a G. We're still all just doing Gs. There's my other octave, 12th fret on the G string. And from there, oh, that's this one. That's the A shape G chord here. We're almost done. So after A, we're back to where we started, C, A, G. So I think about this one like this. I know my octave is there. And then from that octave, right, I go to 15 and 15. Oh, and I know that's my like G shape octave. Again, it gets awkward. I'll typically play it just 12, 12, 12, 15. Just play that nice high sound of it. And that is how they connect. Spend time, go slow. Go from every chord you can think of, right? Maybe start on A major. Let's do A really quick. A, my octave is there to there. I know that's the G shape, A chord. Now I put my first finger on the 5th fret to go to the next octave. Now that's my E shape. Right, I'm not thinking about CAGED. You can use it as a beginner to help guide you. Now I'm going from 5 to 7, putting my first finger on that 7. 7 goes to 10. Oh, now I add these two. Get my D shape. But where my pinky is, I'm going to put my first finger on the 10th fret. Oh, that one goes down to 12, right? That's that octave. Oh, that's my C shape. So I put my right, I shift my hand. I can't play the chord without my pinky being there. It's the C shape. Now from that pinky, I put my first finger there. 12 to 14. Oh yeah, that's my A shape. And I'm back, that's where I started. And your mind and hands are going to come up with your own ways of recognizing this. Very often, the way I connect the A shape, let's just do it. So I was here on the 12th fret. The way I connect that shape, let's do it here. Let's do open A. Those three notes, 2, 2, 2, well, I just know right away it's this G shape. Anytime I'm barring 3 notes in a row, I know that to go up the neck is like this. It's just always going to be that G shape. So your mind is going to start to recognize how you go up and down from any one of these shapes, whether you're thinking CAGED or just thinking an octave position. Your brain's gonna know how to slam down that chord, boom, in that octave position, but it's also gonna know which one is next. And I promise when you practice this a lot, you're just gonna go, okay, here's a G chord. I don't have to think about what shape I'm in. I just know from here, it goes to here, and it goes to here. And I know from this one, it goes there, and from that one, it goes here, and from that one, it goes here. And I'm not doing any mental gymnastics. I'm not using any tricks. I'm just using my brain. It's almost like muscle memory. I just know from this low note to go down that way. And then I immediately go, oh yeah, there's my bar. And I know that bar can be played in this direction. Crud. I have a beautiful horn solo as my phone ring. But from that shape, it goes down. And then from that bar, oh, I know it's the A shape here. Oh, and this is the root on the A string. Well, I know it's now the C chord. And all of these dots will connect for you. So pick any chord and find all of the subsequent, you know what I'm saying? Find if there's a G chord, find the next G chord in the next position and go all the way up. And then pick a chord up high using a particular shape. Let me do F using an A shape. Now can I go down the neck from that F? Yeah, that's the C shape. And then from here, oh yeah, that's the D shape. And from here, oh yeah, that's the E shape. And it might be slow going, but I just wanted to play it quick so that you guys can have the confidence knowing you can do this. I'm not a superhero, I don't have special abilities. I just put in the time to get my hand and my brain used to how these shapes connect. I'm sorry if I'm being redundant, but I want to make sure you get it and understand it. The second way of practicing I alluded to, but sidetracked myself. So the one way is pick any chord, find it all the way up and down the neck. The second way to think about it is, like I said, in the context of jamming with somebody. Pick a few chords in a progression and force yourself to find them in a different spot. So let's do that example I said of G to C. So let's go through our G shapes. Now that's too close to this one. So let's say you wanted to play it here on the C shape where you're on the 10th fret. So that's how you'll think about it. You'll go through some G chords using that CAGED system. G, here's the E shape, here's the D shape, here's the C. That's high enough. So I'm gonna, while my buddy is finger picking here or just strumming the G chord, I'm gonna finger pick up here. And maybe I'll make a note to only accentuate the higher 4 strings. And now already it's gonna sound cool together. Or what I do, just put a ton of reverb on your guitar. So while your buddy's, hammering away on the G chord, boom dang, da 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 boom dang, da 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 boom dang, ba da da boom dang, you're doing a cool little lead on top of it. And it already sounds like you came up with a really clever lead guitar part, but you're just playing the chord in a different shape, higher on the guitar, and arpeggiating it. This is used all the time, and you'll think of, how is that guitar player so creative? That's so gorgeous. And now you know the secret. He literally is just doing a different shape of the same chord and playing the notes as an arpeggio. And you already have a cool little catchy accompaniment for your G chord. And then if your buddy's going to a C chord next, spend a second thinking about all the different ways to do the C. So here's C, here's the A shape that builds on that, here's the G shape, here's the E shape. And let's just do this one. That's that bar chord, E bar chord shape on the 8th fret. I'm just arpeggiating it. It doesn't matter how I'm doing it, I'm just making a point. So you have that G chord to that C shape. And again, I will talk about this in a later video, but you don't always have to play all of them. If I know I'm only gonna play the top ones, then I only play the top ones. Right now this looks more like an F chord, but the F chord comes from the E shape, you know what I mean? So I'm just doing that big bar chord, but simplifying it by only fretting the top 4 strings, 8, 8, 9, 10, and just dropping that 10, 8. It looks different. I'm giving you the whole shape. We'll talk about simplifying them later, because sometimes when people simplify too soon, they lose the overall blueprint and picture. So get that first. But for the sake of just going through these, so we have that C-shaped G chord to the C chord in an E shape. So this is a great way to think about songwriting, right? Take this CAGED system out of abstraction and start applying it to songs that even songs that you already know, right? Instead of doing A minor, well, we haven't talked about minors yet. So instead of doing A to D, find a different A and a different D. What I did there was I just went to the octave, 12th fret, and I built my C shape from there. Then my D chord, instead of doing it here, I found this octave. And this is my G shape now, and I just did 7, 7, 7, 10. Just playing the high notes of the G shape from the 10th fret. I already forgot what the first chord was. A? Yeah, A in the C shape. To the D. Cool little accompaniments from the CAGED system. So we're not only understanding the guitar neck, but making it applicable and creative and musical. That's it. The video's done. Go through all that stuff. Let me know if you're stuck anywhere, if anything's complicated. If you have any other tips or tricks on how to think about this or how your brain handles it and makes sense of it, comment below. We're all in this together. We're all on this journey together, trying to make this as easy and simple and fun and productive as possible. All right. Until next time.
The C shape. The A shape. The G shape. The E shape. The D shape. CAGED.